sure, yeah.
So when you're learning a new language, how important it is to know the translation practice between the native language and the language?
Well, I think if you're, a lot of people try to translate word for word, and that's why I'm telling them about syntax so they can start to think in language, because translating word for word is very labor intensive kind of thing, and it makes you make more mistakes. The language each language is different, but there are common basics in each language, and so there's a syntax, there's grammar, there's vocabulary, and there's reading, writing, listening, and speaking. So it's how you approach those things that makes those core skills that make the difference. And so your awareness of how to get to those skills and how to, what you need to know makes you move faster.
So you're saying that there's no connection between the target language and the native language?
I think there's kind of a transition period that a lot of people like to go through. They like to kind of compare languages. They find that, oh, that's how they say it in this language, that's how they say it in my language. But, what I'd like people to move them through that transition period, like, yeah, enjoy that kind of, comparing if you want to do that. But then get to the part where you actually can think in the language, and I want to show you how to do that, because that's really key, is you want to think in that language. Because translating back and forth, it's exhausting, and it's unnecessary once you know how the language works and how you can start to
Just
think
a couple of comments there. Our approach is to say no jargon and no explanations, unless the learner asks for an explanation. So we don't teach a bunch of explanations, but if the learner says, like, why or what does this mean? We don't really like the question, why does this happen this way? Because that's an unnecessary, it happens. Okay, what does it mean? I got all the words, I still don't understand it? That's a legitimate question. Here's what it means. With regard to issues such as, speak to, I listen to him, I hear him. Why? I don't even want to know the explanation. I just say to the person, you save the word listen in our system, and you look at all the phrases you get, and they'll all be listened to. And then you save the word here, and it won't be here too. So after a while, you'll get used to it. Because the explanations are not that helpful. And I'll give you a very good example from Chinese. In spoken Chinese, there's no difference between he and she. There is no Chinese person who speaks English that doesn't understand the difference between she, and that doesn't know that in spoken English, there's a difference. And yet, many Chinese people will get it wrong 50% of the time, because it's not something that they're programmed to do based on all of their years of doing Chinese. And I've had the experience many, many times when you correct someone or you explain an error, they say, thank you very much, and they just get it wrong the next time and the next time and the next time. Absolutely. So what you have to do is you have to get people to notice, to see, to hear. You get them to notice the language. And you prod, and whatever tools you use. We happen to encourage people to write. We think writing is a very good way, because it's a record of what you're saying, and we correct things in the writing, and then the words and phrases that you used incorrectly are put back into your flashcards, together with the words and phrases that you're collecting from your listening and reading. So those are some of the ways. But the whole, insofar as connecting to your native language, the big thing to me is the dictionary. I think the bilingual dictionary is the key tool. Everything else should be in the native language, in the target language, as much as possible, but you need to get that little skyhook, that little hint. It doesn't tell you the whole story about the word, but it kind of gets you there quickly, and because mostly you're motivated, or should be motivated, to understand the context that you're listening to and reading. And that's why I agree entirely with Robyn that phrase books are useless. Yeah. The idea that you're going to go to country X and go to the bank and say, I would like to open an account, the way they have it in the phrase book. And they'll come back at you with such a torrent of whatever that you won't know which one. So, and then you switch back to English. Say, well, really what I meant to say was, can I open an account? So phrase books don't work because the phrases are all disconnected. Context is important. Interesting context, something you're interested in. You're listening, you're gleaning words and phrases from it so that your whole language level is growing. And the idea that you can shortcut the system by learning some key phrases, it ain't going to work. Where's the toilet? That's kind of useful, but beyond that.
What you want to know is how to reuse this structure in different ways, because those structures there, and you can use them in exponential amount of ways, and that's what makes you a powerful speaker in the language, is that you can see how to reuse those things. And that's really important. I totally agree about the dictionary. The great thing about the dictionary, if you look at it, it's a language in your hand. So for people who are very visual learners, you can see the language in your hand, you can hold it in your hand. And so in any language, even in English, I don't know every word in the dictionary, but I'm always happy to learn a new one. And that's kind of the sense you have to feel when you're learning another language too, is that you're not going to learn every word. You're not going to know everything that's in the dictionary, but you can use it as a tool to track your progress. And what I recommend people to do is, if you learn